Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you a 1950s era scroll saw. Bought this sight unseen for $50 at a local store, and I'm going to see if I can get it running today. Motor, everything, wiring looks fine. I will be eventually rewiring this. The belt's good, it's not dry rotted, and everything moves relatively freely. So I'm just going to try and see what I can do with it today. It's a 6 horsepower, I'm assuming 40s or 50s motor. Brass tag, that's the only reason I have for dating it. Relatively old setup, but it's a cool old setup. I like belt-driven tools. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is probably oiling it. The bearings and the motor sound a wee bit dirty, I guess you could say. So I got some motor oil here. I'm just going to put it in the filler. I've not even plugged this in yet. Thankfully it has a long enough cord too, but I just want to get everything oiled, motor and scroll saw in general, just so nothing breaks that doesn't have to. This thing, the scroll saw piece does have an oil reservoir, and I am not sure how exactly to fill it yet, because I bought it just today. It does have the directions for it, but nothing to specifically say where to fill it, but I'm assuming it's a tiny little screw right here at the top. And when I move this back and forth, I can visibly see oil on the propeller shaft, I guess you could call it, so it looks fine for right now. All the pieces were there. It's a spring-loaded tensioner for the blade. So I'm not really accustomed to that, but I'll see if that setup works. First thing I need to do, it did come with a blade, so I'm going to try and put that on first with the original hardware pieces. I believe I am missing a piece. This almost looks like a coping saw blade that someone just kind of threw in. But I do want to get this, or attempt to get this threaded on, so that way when I do try and run it, it won't just be throwing the blade around. Eventually, I do plan on restoring this. The motor looks grimy, but I think I can manage to save that paint. But really, overall, what I want to do is just get everything looking nice and functioning before getting everything super nice, I guess you could say. So I don't have any coping saw blades with me at the moment, and this thing does actually take it. Since I don't have any with me, it's just going to have to do with that for right now. So this is a Craftsman companion scroll saw. Looks to be cast iron. It's sitting on a pipe base, just roughly assembled, and on a wood board attached to the top. Like I said, it's a tilting table, which is nice. I don't think I'm ever going to use it as a tilting table, but it's nice just to have. Old switches and wiring, of course, but they did it correctly, and the wiring's not frayed. So I'm going to try it out real quick. I got everything oiled to the best of my abilities, at least. Like I said, this does have oil in it. I can tell just by moving this back and forth. It almost looks like a hydraulic piece rather than a gear-driven, with a lopsided gear. So I'm going to try and get this off. I'm just going to take the blade out, just so I don't ruin anything. And then I'll go over this one more time before I try and get it running. Alright, well I got it all plugged in, all looked over. I'm going to try and fire it up, see what it does. That's good, the motor works. that clicking, I'm not entirely sure what it is. I'm going to try and take off the table and then get to the two bolts here and see if I can get a look at what I believe to be like a hydraulic sort of system for the scroll saw, but everything seems to work. So I can't take the table off, but I did get the two bolts that I showed earlier that seem to cover the entire piece of it, maybe where the gasket is for the oil as well. And before I take that off, I'm just going to get all the gunk, the sawdust, mixed with the oil and grease over the years off, just so nothing goes in. The table looks to be held on with two flathead screws with a square nut at the bottom, and the flatheads aren't deep enough to get a screwdriver in. Either it's caked or they're just that shallow. And the square nuts look to be almost impossible to get off, so I'm just going to try and take it off all in one piece. See those bolts. Oh. So let's take off the piece that holds on the bottom of the blade as well. Just slide it all off. Rather long screw for a small blade. Alright, got that. And I'll take this off. There we go. There's not even a gasket on this. But it does have the serial number. That's just a machined piece with no need for a gasket, I guess. And then looking in closer, the internals, it runs off almost like a car engine would, in the way the crankshaft works on a car. Huh. So, according to the reservoir, here it says fill with SAE 40 up to this fill point, and if you look inside, it's just that simple of fill it up to that point, and then it has an overflow. So, I got some oil with me right now, and I'm going to fill it up and close it. So this isn't SAE 40, this is 10W30, but it'll do the same thing. And right now it's winter, so really you want that thinner weight oil to begin with. Actually really clean inside here. I can actually see the original color. And I do have that color from another project that I've done. Alright. There's the overflow. A rag for that. I'm not sure if there's a bolt that's supposed to be here, but it says oil to that level, and it points upwards to that top piece that I showed you earlier, so I don't know if it's just missing a piece, but I gotta clean all this up now. So I looked at where it said to fill, and upon closer inspection I realized that was my mistake. That upper hole was to actually where you put the oil in, and the lower hole is where it was supposed to go up to. So I just wasted a lot of oil, but yeah, it's a small mistake. So it's still kind of semi-leaking out, so I'm just going to run this real quick, and I'll let all the oil that'll come spilling out just run off onto this rag, and then hopefully that'll get rid of that clinking noise as well. Have it all tightened back up, and I even cleaned off the contact points, put the fresh oil because I had an excess of it to make a good seal. So let me just see what kind of noise it makes now. Put it back in and see what it does. I would think there's a seal, but since the fill hole is just open, it's not threaded, there's no kind of piece that would fit inside. I would just assume there's no need for a gasket, and if anything, I might have to tighten these bolts up just a little bit more. Has a good speed to it though. So here's the spring-loaded tensioner. This piece I just put up here for right now, but this is the blade guide. So, upon closer inspection, I'm looking. Paint's not too bad. This I might repaint because I do have a color that'll match it. But I think I might be able to oil up the motor. I get some WD-40 here. And just try and just rub all of this buildup from over the years. So just to do a small patch where you guys can see it more. Not sure if you guys can see that, but apart from the occasional rust spot, the paint for 60, 70 years old is actually relatively in decent shape. So I might just clean it and keep it. And that grime is actually coming off easier than I thought it would. Like the WD-40. Oh yeah, it's coming right off. And yeah, it does have rust spots, but it'll also be kind of cool to keep it original if need be. Not if need be, but it's not too far gone to save. Might paint the pulleys silver just to match this. Looks kind of nice. Do the tag. Oh well, yeah. Still has a gloss finish to it. I guess the grime saved it. Same thing happened to me. I had a similar motor, and it was an old belt-driven squirrel cage fan that I redid. Same thing with the motor, just came right off, cleaned up very nicely. It's a decent paint back then. So here it is a couple hours later. Did a bunch of detail work, everything, tried to get all the dust out. Taken both pieces off of the stand itself, polished and retightened everything. The pulleys, obviously to the motor, switch covers, etc. Just tried to clean it off. This, gonna sand down. It's actually painted. This isn't bare, well, this darker spot is bare metal. But the silver that you see, that's not unrusted bare metal, that's actually paint, so I can paint that and it should be smooth. Motor came out really, really nice. I like that gloss on it, especially since it's 60 plus. I couldn't get all the dirt out of these little support pieces, but I got enough out. This I am probably going to end up repainting. Pulley too, it just needs it. But other than that, it came out really well. So, thank you for watching. I apologize because this is my first talking to video, I guess you could say. Normally I just post pictures and videos, but this is the first one where I've actually done something. And just to close you out, I'll show you what it sounds like now with everything retightened.